Sometimes reading your own writing can be a cringe-inducing experience. You'll say things to yourself like, "What was I thinking? Did I really write this? Man, this is terrible. Carlson's Deli has the best smoked meat around." That last one only applies if you're eating a sandwich while you read. Nevertheless, this painful, cringeworthy experience that accompanies perusing your own prose might actually be beneficial for several reasons, which, if you haven't understood by now, is what we're going to be talking about in this video. Speaking of cringeworthy decisions you may not understand, consider subscribing to my channel. I can't sell it any better than that. Alright, reason number one that cringiness can be beneficial, it's a sign that you've grown as a writer. Now, sometimes reading the writing you wrote 10 minutes ago can induce cringe, but I would say that it's much more common when you come back to a piece of writing after a long break. If time away from your writing makes you cringe when you read it, that's a powerful sign that you've improved as a writer. We sometimes don't realize how much unconscious improvement happens as you practice writing. Your brain will recognize more and more problems, you'll start naturally assimilating the knowledge you've gained, and all of this will improve your writing without you necessarily realizing it. Day to day, the changes can be subtle so you don't notice them. Until you dust off that manuscript you wrote 2 years ago, then the improvement will smack you square in the face. That feeling of, how did I ever think this was good, happens because the I in question, which is actually you, has changed since the time you wrote that work. Or rather, since the time I wrote that. No, you wrote that work. Even if you put the work down yesterday, if when you read it today the flaws are leaping out at you, that's a sign you've gained some perspective that you didn't have yesterday. That too is a little bit of growth. Reason number two that cringe is blah blah blah, it can give you a roadmap towards improvement. We see the cringe on the horizon, we see it come towards us and blot out the sun, but we don't question where it comes from. Reading a piece of writing and saying, "Boy, this is bad," is the first step to fixing the problems contained within it. I mean, technically not feeling cringe at a piece of writing that deserves to be cringed at is a much worse situation to be in. Your negative reaction indicates a problem with the writing. Identifying that there is a problem is the first step to fixing it. I think a lot of writers don't improve because they aren't willing to address the weak points in their writing. The things that cause you pain are often in the direction you need to head for growth. When you feel that cringe, lean into it. Try to understand where it's coming from. Don't ignore the problems that it's trying to tell you about. Something is causing that feeling. By digging into what it is, you can actually address the problem and make it go away. Explore the cringe. Become one with the cringe. Let it flow through you. Only then will you be able to see the world for what it truly is. And the cringe reason last is good. Cringe destroys your ego. Ego is like poison for a writer. It blinds you to your flaws, it disconnects you from the reader, and it usually turns you into an asshole. Ego tries to protect us from a version of reality that is painful, or in actuality, a version of reality that the ego thinks is painful. The problems it makes us run away from will only grow. The more you deny these problems, the more they pile up. Ego protects an idea of the skill you have, but will make those same skills atrophy. Your job as a writer is to connect to the reader. Anybody can think, anybody can imagine a story that moves them emotionally, but only a skilled writer can make a reader feel that same emotion. Ego blinds us to the flaws in our writing. It tells us we're perfect already, that we know better, that the people who criticize us, including ourselves, have things wrong. It tells us that there's nothing wrong with what we're doing because admitting that something is wrong means that the ego's lie will be revealed. And once we realize that the ego is lying to us, then we may no longer have a use for it. And as you can likely imagine, the ego absolutely hates that idea. Cringing at your writing, realizing that you aren't as good as you thought you were, the pain that comes along when reality slaps you across the face with a bunch of poorly thought out adverbs and a character who sounds more whiny than angsty, are all things that will make you resilient. You don't become more by building yourself up behind a false facade. You don't become better by believing you're already good enough. Of course, this can go the other way. If you let it, ego will form a mask that is devoid of skill. It will tell you that your writing is bad, that you have no creative ability, that you perhaps shouldn't even write at all. What you actually need is a balance between the two. You are not good or bad. You are what you are. You can go up from here or you can go down from here. The decision is yours. The actions you take will affect this. Listening to the ego will just keep you where you are. Cringe moves us towards balance. It gives us an opportunity to accept what we are. You should neither ignore the pain nor let it destroy your will to improve. There's something to be admired in skilled writers, the architects of beautiful prose and gripping plots. But I think we can likewise admire the writers who keep going, the writers who persevere in the face of the cringe-inducing work they produce, judging them not by the quality of their output, but by the quality of their attitude towards that work. Let cringe destroy your ego with the truth of your skill. You'll be a stronger writer for it. Just like I hope this video was strong enough to... I don't know where I was going with that. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and found the advice in it useful. I'd love to hear what you think about this in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.